You're listening to E-commerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company, powered by Shopify. Listen to real conversations with partners and subject matter experts as they share proven practical strategies, platforms, and the best Shopify apps to help you accelerate your business. The time is now for you to improve efficiencies, grow revenue, profit, and lifetime customer loyalty. Please welcome your host, startup founder and strategic advisor, Steve Hutt.
Welcome back to E-commerce Fastlane. I'm your host, Steve Hutt. Now, picture this. Let's say a founder launches like a 20% off, sale site-wide. And, this could be like a BFCM offer, who knows? I think these sales are clearly going to spike for, these 2 or 3 days. But what happens when it's over? My gut tells me, and I think I'm guilty of this, is that some brands, we get trained as customers to kind of wait for discounts. And I think that causes a lot of issues. There's, margins are bleeding. I think these average order value significantly drops because of that. But meanwhile, there are other founders that run some more creative kind of discounting rules. And it's one of the reasons why I haven't had my guest on today. But you think about maybe if you buy 3 and you get 15% off, and then that would see the cart values climb, number one, because you're buying more. Yes, you're getting 50% off, but you're buying 3 now while keeping your margins quite healthy. And I think it's the same goal, but I think it's a completely different outcome. And I think the difference here is just kind of understanding that maybe not all discounts are created equal. That's why my guest is on today. Her name is Katie Keith, and she's the founder and CEO of a company called Barn2. So it's BARN, the number 2.com. They're a company that's been solving these kind of pricing challenges. I just did some quick research, but they've been more entrenched in the WooCommerce space for quite a few years. Over 100,000 stores are actually running all their solutions right now. And they've now brought over a lot of expertise now over to the Shopify ecosystem. And they have a brand new app in the Shopify system now, or ecosystem, called Bundles and Bulk Discount Apps. And it's so interesting because Katie's team they've analyzed millions of transactions and they've figured out which discount structures drive the most profitability. So I'm really excited to kind of unpack a lot of this. It's perfect timing right now, being Q4 right now and just kind of BFCM time. So hi, Katie, welcome to E-commerce Fastlane.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. So what really jumped out at you? Like, here it is, you're bringing the insights of this 100,000 some kind of WooCommerce stores into Shopify. Like, in my opinion, that's a massive amount of data advantage that you as a company have. So can you take me back to the early days, like watching merchants using your plugins over there on WordPress and WooCommerce? What patterns kept showing up around discounting? I'm just curious about that first.
Yeah, so we have a WooCommerce plugin called WooCommerce Discount Manager, and that offers 6, soon to be 7 different types of discounts. So we're able to see what people were using and what the different strategies that they were using. And I love the story that you started with a minute ago about how some types of discounts, like a blanket 20% off everything, trains the customer to expect discounts. But what we've learned is that quantity-based discounts don't do that, because it's not about urgency and dates necessarily. It can be, but it can also be a permanent offer, because instead of saying buy now, it's Black Friday, you're saying buy more at any time. So if you have some incentive for the customer to basically spend more with you and they believe they're getting a better deal, well, they actually are getting a better deal because the cost per item is coming down, you get more from each order and the customer is also getting that discount. So I see that type of discount as a win-win, and that's always gone really well in WooCommerce.
It's interesting because, I'm just thinking for myself, for example, because when I think about bulk tiered pricing and I think about volume bundles, that's another interesting conversation, because if you think about it, let's say, I don't know, I'm selling candles and they're $30 each. What does maybe a bulk tiered pricing strategy look like versus maybe a volume bundle? Because I think they're kind of two different things.
They are, and it's really interesting coming from one platform to another because it's very easy to just look at your competitors on that one platform and do what they do. So in our WooCommerce Discount Manager plugin, we had what I call sort of bulk tiered pricing, which is things like, imagine a table on the pricing page which says, if you buy one, it costs this. If you buy 2 to 5, you get 5% off. If you buy 6 to 10, you get 15% off, whatever. So the more the customer buys, the better saving they get. But they are still using the default quantity picker to select any quantity. It's just that the price then changes based on the quantity they choose. And so I came into researching Shopify discount apps with that assumption in mind, that that is how you do bulk discounts in an e-commerce store. And what I discovered, though, is that was surprisingly rare in Shopify. And the vast majority of quantity discount apps in Shopify do volume bundles, which is actually quite radically different, even though it's still quantity discounts. So a volume bundle has more of an interactive table which replaces the quantity picker on that product page. So you've got buy one for $10, for example, buy two for $15, buy three for $17. And you can only choose one of those 3 tiers or however many they've created. So it's very different to the bulk tiered discounts I just described, in which you can choose any quantities, and it's particularly aimed at stores that might sell a very large quantity of a product. So let's imagine that you're selling pens, say. So if you're selling a fairly low cost pen, you want people to buy loads of them. Maybe it's not a multi-pack, you're selling them individually. You don't just want to sell 1, 2, or 3 pens if they cost $1 each. You want to sell 10, for example. They may well buy that. So what you want is a tiered pricing table on that page where the customer can select however many pens they want. They might want to really stock up. Whereas other types of products, I think volume bundles are useful. So that might be something where the customer may well buy 2 or 3, but they're not going to buy 10 of it. So it's different use cases for different products. And it was really surprising not to find the tiered pricing tables commonly in Shopify apps. But it worked the other way around as well, because I have literally never seen a WooCommerce plugin that offers volume bundles. So obviously we're adding that to our plugin now.
Yeah, absolutely. So it really is a profit killer, I guess, so to speak, if it's not done correctly. And I think that's the challenge. I mean, we can get into the rabbit hole of like stacking discounts and then, coupon discounts not applying towards certain offers and just being just an overall confusing kind of customer experience upon checkout, I think is another kind of conversion blocker a bit. Like, what's going on here? Like, what offer should I get? Yes, I want to increase. Yes, I'd like to buy 3 of those, but how do I add it on the PDP page? Is this something that happens maybe upon checkout? You can, nudge people up a bit to continue to get further discounts. I'm just curious on the app itself, how it's working on PDP versus checkout flow. And then has there been some intentionality around the whole flow and making it easy for the customer to want to check out and enjoy the savings that they can get?
In our Barn2 Bundles and Bulk Discounts app, we added both types of discount because we recognize that different products sell best with different types of discounts. And they all happen on the product page because that's kind of where the customer makes that buying decision as to what quantity to buy. So if it's a bulk discount, it displays a tiered pricing table. And if it's volume bundle, it replaces the quantity picker with your bundles. So that is the point of decision making. And then beyond that, it's the job of the app to just clearly label the fact that there's a discount in the cart. So it will show how much you've saved in the cart and checkout to reassure the customer that they're getting a good deal and remind them the discount's been applied.
Okay, so I'm understanding this then clearly then. So there's the bulk tier pricing option, there's the volume bundle option. So I understand those distinctions. And so if we get a little more practical now, like let's say there's a few different goals that a brand's trying to get. Like one could be increase their average order value. So I think that's an interesting one that a lot of people want the average, basket size to be increased because they know that they're going to, just have overall more revenue. But they also, sometimes you want to move more inventory faster, which could be an interesting strategy, or maybe even a launch urgency. and trying to get things going there. So can you talk about the different types of discounts based on maybe the goal that a brand is chasing? So there's the AOV side, there's the move more inventory side, or maybe even a product launch side.
Yeah, I think all of those things make sense. I really love the move more inventory aspects because you don't have to get more customers, so therefore your customer acquisition costs don't increase. You're encouraging customers to buy more. So you might switch from the volume bundle to the bulk tiered pricing model and create those tiered pricing tables that give huge discounts perhaps for buying larger quantities, particularly if you're losing money on warehouse space or something like that. If, say, it's a discontinued line, you're not going to order again, you just want them gone to make space in the warehouse. You can give some really great discounts, and then the same number of customers will end up buying all your remaining stock. So I think that's a really good strategy. And really, it's just a case of considering your use case, your goal, and the type of product you're selling and choosing the appropriate discount. And we're not just talking what type of discount, we're also talking about the tiers within that. So what discounts are you giving? Always bear in mind what is the minimum that you can afford to sell the product for, given your minimum profit margin that you would accept. So you don't want to just keep going infinitely more generous as the volume goes up. There is a limit. So bear that in mind alongside your goals when setting your prices.
I see. So Shopify itself, I know, has a lot of gaps. I mean, I was, inside Shopify for the longest time, and it was a bone of contention for a lot of my merchants about discounting strategies in general. And we won't go down the rabbit hole of coupon codes and coupon sharing and influencers having their codes floating around. That's another whole conversation. But I found it interesting that there is a certain limit to what Shopify offers kind of natively. It's just so odd where they only have, I believe there's like 25, I think is, and you probably know this better than I do, but this discount limit of like these active coupon codes at any one time is 25. It's so interesting because I can recall it forces merchants really to constantly delete and kind of reactivate discounts. And I've also remember that they could only have one discount per order, if my memory serves me correct. So can you walk us through kind of like the differences between maybe what Shopify has kind of on their core offering and why your app kind of fills in those gaps?
Shopify's core offering does not have quantity discounts. So it's more flat discounts that you get by entering a code. So there's that. But yeah, the 25 limit is really weird. It's one of the limitations that we came across when we were developing our app. And we discovered that the majority of Shopify discount apps have that limit as well. And that's because each discount created in their app equals one discount in Shopify itself. Therefore, you have the 25 limit. So we worked really hard on trying to get around that limit, and we found a way to do it so that our app, you can create unlimited discounts, and they are basically combined in the Shopify discounts as one. So if you go into the discounts page in Shopify Core, you will just see one discount from bundles and bulk discounts, whereas in the admin for our app, you can create unlimited app discounts. So we have managed to overcome that limit, which I'm not aware that any other app has done.
Yeah, and I've also noticed too, there's no discount prioritization, meaning that they can't really control how the discount applies when multiple discounts qualify for it. It's so interesting. It almost makes orders very unprofitable when the wrong discounts are kind of being stacked up. Like there appears to be, from what I can remember, there's not the correct logic to know, no, that doesn't qualify because this one's currently active in your cart right now. Can you walk us through kind of like the methodology around understanding stacking and why that might happen on some orders? But it just seems weird that Shopify doesn't have the native prioritization for that.
What we decided was to make it so that only one discount can apply per product at a time. So because when you create a discount, you can choose whether it's global or whether it applies to specific collections, products, or markets. And we'll probably add a variations feature at some point, a variance feature at some point. And so we decided, let's allow one to be applied to each product at once to prevent mistakes, basically. We don't want merchants to be saying, oh, this order wasn't profitable because the customer managed to use both discounts which applied to that product. And so what we've done, and again, I think we're the only app that has this, is implement a prioritization system where you basically just use drag or drop to order your discounts. And if the same discount applies to multiple products, then the one at the top of the list will always be used. So let's say that you've got a global discount and you've also got a discount on a specific collection. So if somebody orders a product from that collection, there are 2 discounts which could potentially apply. And so it basically depends on the priority order that you've set in Barn 2 bundles and bulk discounts. Whichever one is at the top of the list is the one that will apply.
I see. Now, what about, there are a range of people that are listening that are on Shopify Plus and they know of and maybe, selling wholesale, and they might turn on Shopify's kind of B2B offering. I know they've made some upgrades to this solution, in the last few months. And certainly I know in summer editions, they kind of talked a lot about that. And I think you went to the Shopify conference to talk about these sorts of upgrades that were happening. It's interesting though, being on Plus, obviously, you're still upwards of $3,000 a month to kind of be there. And yes, there's some perks and benefits of being on the Plus side of Shopify. Obviously, having access to B2B is number one, but I still feel that there is a lot of, I'd argue maybe even some limitations that are currently not available in their B2B offering, which is interesting because your solution works for both Shopify core merchants and then there's 15,000 or so Shopify Plus merchants out there. Your app will also work in their particular situation, even if they're selling wholesale. I just pulled up one of your customers. I think it's Perfect Black Teas. And it's interesting because they mostly sell to brands and influencers in pretty large quantity. I'm not sure if they're on the Plus side, but it's interesting where, they're truly positioning themselves on the wholesale side, because when you go and grab, one of their classic teas and you go down to the product page, their quantity discounts at 10% off are like 50 to 100 or 101 to 200, even 400 to 1,000. They have a certain discounted tier in a really nice box. All this stuff doesn't exist on Shopify or in the Plus B2B side. So can you talk a little bit about kind of like, I don't know, just maybe the differences or the intentionality around working for both Shopify Core and Plus, and maybe some of the limitations that are happening over on the B2B offering right now from Shopify?
Yeah, the B2B side is really interesting because we have a WooCommerce wholesale plugin, which we've had for years. So I came at it from that angle, and I discovered that generally, Shopify has a better reputation than WooCommerce for a lot of things, but certainly not B2B. And Shopify is seen as a lot less strong compared to not WooCommerce Core, but the available plugins for WooCommerce to convert your WooCommerce store into B2B are just generally more sophisticated and feature rich than Shopify. And even with Shopify Plus, where they've now added B2B features, they're not as comprehensive of what you can get in like $150 a year WooCommerce plugin, which is really interesting. So we're currently building a Shopify B2B app, which has a lot of the features of our WooCommerce plugin. And in doing that, we're discovering why the existing Shopify solutions don't necessarily have those features. It's a bit like that 25 discount limit, but there's lots of other things like the ability to, say, have net 30 payment terms or something like that, where people pay by invoices. Lots of features, the ability to show different payment methods and shipping options based on user role, which is called customer tag in Shopify. And there's lots of things like that that are actually quite easy in WooCommerce and not in Shopify. So we're currently working really hard to research these limitations and find ways to develop an app that gets around them. And our goal is that it'll be better than the Shopify Plus B2B offering as well, because that does have quite a lot of missing functionality. But in terms of the discount app, you can just use it with whatever.
Yeah. What I noticed too is like Shopify's, their volume pricing is very, if it's not on the B2B side, it's very specific, where it's interesting where your tool, your app can do kind of cross variant bundles, which I think is quite interesting because that's really rare. Obviously, your tables are great. I've noticed them both here on this demo site here. It's pretty impressive. It's very upfront on the product page about the pricing and the deal that can happen based on the quantity that you're picking. I also feel that you still, unfortunately, because it's Shopify, there still is on their core offering of B2B, there still is that 25 limit on discounts where, barring two, your app on Shopify is unlimited. And and one other thing that really bugs me that your solution fixes, but Shopify can't do, 3 for $50, kind of like fixed bundles. They can't do that. But yours can. So I think it's really interesting. So I love the fact that there's an interesting hybrid here where you can still run, for those Plus merchants that are listening, you can still do proper wholesale in B2B, but at a whole nother level than what Shopify is offering as their core offering for Plus side by using your app. So I think that's really cool that you're really intentional about, we have some early stage guys on the core, but the Plus people that really want to ramp up, we have everything you need.
Yeah, the key thing that our app can't do for B2B is the different discounts for different user groups. And so like different one for the public retail users and the wholesalers. So that's kind of a big feature that's going to be in our B2B app. But yeah, if you've already got something else to do that, then the discounts are a good addition.
I see. Very cool. So then when someone goes to the App Store, they look for bundles and bulk discounts. They get the app, they install it. Can you walk us through what happens next? Once they add the app to the store, is there a little bit of hand-holding about, here's what we believe some of the next steps are, or here's some best practices after we've ingested all of your products and we understand, maybe some of the margin side of the business. Here's your current effective retail. Here's your wholesale. Whatever's kind of the data that's inside Shopify. Can you walk us through kind of what happens next to kind of select and activate and create these different discounts? And then is there like a testing option before going live? I'm just kind of curious on the whole flow.
Yeah, so to find it in the first place, you should probably type Barn 2 bundles and bulk discounts.
Oh, Barn 2, okay.
We're so new. We've been on the App Store for 3 weeks now. So we're obviously not ranking at the top yet. You need a lot of reviews for that. And we have 1 5-star review so far because we're new. So if you search Barn 2 bundles and bulk discounts and then install the app. And that was a lovely thing I discovered about Shopify. When you install an app, you're just taken to the page for that app. In WooCommerce and WordPress, it's actually really confusing because that doesn't happen. So that was really nice. So you're already on the page that you want to be, and you can click create to create your first discount. And we've designed that page to be nice and user-friendly where there's a very clear visual option. Do you want to create a bulk pricing with the tiers, or do you want to create volume bundles? And then it walks you through the process of setting it up. So for example, if it's bulk pricing, you've got some options as to how the logic works. Like, can you combine the bulk prices across multiple products? So can you buy like 5 of one product and 5 of another in order to get that discount, if it's a discount for a quantity of 10, for example. So you can choose the logic, or whether it's you have to buy 10 of that product. And there's also things like design options. For the volume bundles, you can customize a lot of the wording. So for example, you can really get a lot more sales by adding labels like popular or best value, or highlighting a tier. So it's got all of that. And then with regards to previewing it before it goes live, the right-hand column has a live preview of your volume bundles so that you can see exactly what it will look like. And you can obviously select which products that you're going to use the bundle on. And then once you've gone live, it will then appear on those product pages using the styles and wording that you've chosen.
I see. Okay, very cool. So then for Q4 right now, like what's your mindset around discounts in general and volume discounts? Because I obviously, WooCommerce, you've done it for years. You kind of know you're new in the Shopify world, but still you have, 100,000 some brands on the WooCommerce side are using your solution. You anonymously, you have access to a lot of this data and you're seeing what great looks like on their end. Is there anything that you see, if it's like the tiered discount structure, is it clearly outperforming maybe flat discounting during BFCM, let's say, or just overall in Q4? I'm just curious on kind of what you're seeing, and then can that apply right away with our Shopify merchants?
Well, overall, it certainly has a better impact on average order value because it's encouraging people to buy more. So they might be getting a 20% discount, but they might be buying 50% more products. So you're actually getting more, even though it's a discount. Whereas if you have a flat 20% discount without volume elements to that, then people will literally pay 20% less. So that has a dramatically different impact on your revenue. In fact, I have a similar story about when we do Black Friday sales of our plugins at Barn 2. We obviously, you don't buy a quantity of plugins, but we do offer different license options and a lifetime option, number of sites. So there are ways to spend more on the same plugin. And whenever we do a Black Friday discount of something like 40%, just flat, then we end up getting more revenue per customer. The average order value is the same or slightly higher during Black Friday. And when we analyze that, it's because the fact that we're doing a discount is encouraging people to buy a more expensive option. They might go lifetime. They might buy a 20-site license instead of one, just in case they end up using our plugin for other clients. So I think that's a really good illustration. And with volume bundles or bulk discounts, which obviously only apply to more physical products, not plugins like what we sell, that can go even further.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I also think about about the ad cost reality that's happening right now because, as there is, more buyers, there's a lot more merchants online wanting to sell. There's a whole, Harley Finkelstein brings up a lot about share of wallet, and people are shopping early now, like every year. And it's interesting, but it all comes down a little bit is like the ad cost. I call it the ad cost reality check, but it's interesting that when you think about it, I think the stats are like 40 to 60% kind of increase in the CPM rates for Facebook and Meta and stuff like that over that BFCM week. And so here you are paying so much more money to acquire a net new customer. And if they only buy one item at 30% off, like you literally are losing money. And I know this comes back to the AOV thing that we've just talked about, but I think that's the interesting part about your solution is that knowing that, these Meta and Google ads and whatnot are significantly higher and you have to kind of be there where the customers are, but knowing that the solution really could be this tiered discounting and to push the AOV, I think that will offset the CAC, this customer acquisition cost. So hopefully my math is correct here.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is, as you say, a big problem. Also, since the Google algorithm changes, which probably 2 years ago now, a lot of people saw their organic rankings go down a lot. And as a result, they're spending more on ads. And that's pushing everybody's customer acquisition costs up. And so that means that really you need to get more value out of each customer, ideally on their initial order, although you also should be doing things to retain that customer through email marketing and all of those things as well. And so by getting them to spend more by offering discounts as an incentive for doing so, that's a way to offset your increased customer acquisition costs.
I'd also argue too, I mean, just I'm more thinking out loud here, but I know some great success that I've seen with brands is kind of early access or kind of, I call them maybe like VIP strategies. It's interesting where 48 hours before an event, you can, for email subscribers, you can offer like a special 10 or 15% off just for them. And then maybe VIP tiers, they get a special maybe 20% off and free shipping. So what's your thought process on early access or kind of VIP strategies with your app?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. The question is how to do it technically. So you might need to create some, if it's early access, then you would unlist the product, which I believe is a Shopify core feature that you don't have to make it publicly findable on your store. So you could do that and make the discount available on it. And then you're just sending people the URL of that product by email. So that's an easy solution. Whereas if you wanted to offer different tiers for VIPs, that would be more complex because everybody sees the same discounts once they can access a particular product.
Yeah, like the logged in experience you're talking about versus maybe applying the VIP discount code just during the event.
Yeah, it's almost getting into B2B territory where you might have different customer tags, each with different pricing or something like that.
Yeah, no, this is amazing. So before we kind of wrap up for today, like, What are you recommending for those that are listening? Because I know there's, like I said, there's all different types. There's early stage people that are just, trying to get product market fit. Maybe they have a Shopify store and they're doing some drop shipping, or they're trying to get some traction, maybe even of their own product. And so those people are working away. And then there's the mid-market to enterprise people that know about discounting. They unfortunately are limited to what Shopify offers at scale on their core offering. So I guess there's two different types of people that are listening today. So if you can kind of give some kind of advice for Q4 and then what that strategy means for 2026 for them, the early stage people and then these mid-market people.
My advice for everybody is not just to install things because everybody else does. In Shopify, that is like everybody's using volume bundles. Is that the right choice for your products? So yes, we built that into our app because often it is the right choice, but it is not the only way to do quantity discounts. And if it's a product where people might want to choose a bespoke quantity, they might want to buy 7 or 50 or something that you're not likely to have a volume bundle for, then perhaps having tiered pricing where they choose the quantity and you reward them the more they buy would be better for that type of product. So I would say don't just do things because there are apps that offer that. Really think, what product am I selling and what quantity can I likely convince customers to upgrade to, and choose accordingly. And also use the same psychology when choosing which tiers to offer. Think about what you're selling, and you could even ask AI for some tips or something like, for this type of product, what tiers would you recommend? And often it comes up with really sensible evidence-based options.
Right. No, 100%. All right. This is great. And then the enterprise people, and yes, they're a little bit firmly entrenched in kind of what they're currently doing, but I feel that they're doing one or the other. They're either doing bulk tiered pricing or they're doing a volume bundle. They're doing one or the other, not both. And I don't think necessarily maybe they've completely thought about their strategy because they feel a little bit limited in that, number one, that 25 variant limit on discounts and stuff like that. So what's the mindset around these mid-market to enterprise ones as far as knowing that your app is now available to them?
Yeah, that's a very good point. You don't have to just have one or the other because you can have different types of quantity discount on different products. That would typically apply if you sell different types of products. So completely different categories of item, where some would sell in bulk typically and others, the volume bundle might just nudge people to buy slightly bigger quantities. So you can have different strategies on different products. And the 25 limit isn't relevant with our app because it's all combined into one Shopify discount. So you can create unlimited discounts of different types and apply different discounts to different products or collections or markets.
This is amazing. So you offer a 14-day free trial. So you go to Barn 2 bundles and bulk discounts. You can find the app, install that, get rocking on that. You got 2 weeks to kind of kick the tires on it. Pricing is very affordable. Even the Pro plan at $50 a month with no revenue limits, like all the way through. These are great for large stores and plus size. So it's extremely affordable for like the upside that you get of being able to offer both different types of quantity discounts, being at bulk tier pricing or volume bundles. So it's pretty neat. I love, like I said, and I think it's really impressive when I went to one of the demo stores to actually take a look to see what it looks like on screen for the different like tables and that. It's really well executed. Kudos to you and your team. They've been very intentional in the UX and the customer experience too that goes along with the app. So I just want to give you kudos to that. And, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing today. I wish you continued success. You're doing your thing in WooCommerce, but welcome to the Shopify ecosystem. And thank you for recording today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this is lovely. All right, have yourself a great day. Well, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you personally for being a loyal listener of E-commerce Fastlane. It's my hope that this podcast is offering you a ton of value through growth strategies, tactics, and exclusive insider tips on the best Shopify apps and marketing platforms, all with my personal goal to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company powered by Shopify. Thanks for investing some time today and listening to the show. I'm so proud and excited that you have a growth mindset and are a constant learner. I truly appreciate you and your entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the rest of the week and keep thriving with Shopify.